Thank you very much for inviting me. A brief introduction, and I'm going to start with the obvious because I know that I have a strong accent. I'm from Barcelona. I'm from Spain. I've been here living in the United States for 21 years. Before that, I lived in South Africa. I've lived in Greece, so I've been a little bit around. I'm a senior consultant in Reynolds in our corporate offices practice, where I do most of my work in finance and also in HR. But especially lately in finance, our FOP financial offices practice this year is 80% over expectations. So we call it the hiding revenge after COVID, where specifically everybody in the financial officers is booming. Everybody is looking, and companies are being very very active. If you don't know Russell Reynolds, we are one a talent firm, one of the big five. We have presence in over 30 countries. We differentiate ourselves because, well, first of all, we do the phone calls, so we don't have minions. And in terms of when we usually the people that we are in front of our clients are the people they do the phone calls. We are very we push very hard for DE and I. We have a global. We basically we don't have like local P&Ls. We have a global P&L, what also is important because we will always put our clients in front of us. And what I would like to discuss with you today is basically what we are seeing. What are the trends and the challenges that we are seeing in the market? There are a lot of opportunities as well, but definitely the function is evolving, and there are some trends that it's important that I'm pretty sure you know that you felt, but sometimes it's good to see them, all together. And also, we are going to talk a little bit about the board trends. And as CFOs, you know that you have a direct interaction with the board of directors. So for you to understand what they expect, we believe that is important. Okay, so I would like basically I'm going to start with what are the trends in CFO recruitment. Okay, um, first of all, we see that there is an external and internal view. Most of the mid to large organizations, they are evaluating people inside the organization and outside the organization. And this is important, and it is important also to motivate people internally, and it's important for board of directors to see what is the benchmark outside. Boards are much more engaged, okay, in the hiring of CFOs. So they are part of the kickoff meetings. They want to have more information. We see that is after COVID, it has been a much higher involvement in the recruitment process. Okay, also because I will say because that hiring revenge that we are experiencing, the market is very vibrant and candidates are very very picky. Okay, so it's important that if that there is a value proposition, and it's important that there is a storytelling behind why we are trying to reach out to you. What is the story of our client? What are the challenges that they are facing, and what are their opportunities? I don't think I need to tell you that the diversity is in higher demand than ever. Okay. And that comes from the board. And also there is a strong appreciation in equity markets, and so those are very, very high level, but different trends that we are seeing. And then that's from the recruitment point of view. But if we go to the trends, what is the CFO, what we see? We see that big data, artificial intelligence, robotics, it's something that is inevitable, and that is redefining, the finance roles, and people and companies, they're expecting tech-enabled solutions, and they're expecting that you understand how you can leverage technology in order to be more efficient. We see also what we call the CFO plus. Okay, there is more focus in succession planning, and they basically a lot of times because they see that the CFO can be a good successor to the CEO, they are going beyond the finance function, and sometimes they are even collapsing the COO with a CFO role, or CFO with a IT. We see different kind of combinations, but more and more they're asking us what we call the CFO plus. Industry experience is another trend. The companies are trying to minimize risk, and they either asking for a specific industry segment, business stage, or kind of background that is important. Business enablement, and this is related to, they want the CFO to be a truly partner of the business beyond the finance. We call it, having that nose for the business. They expect that you understand the complexity, you understand the commercial side of it. They expect that you can communicate, in a different way beyond what it was probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, what they expect from the CFO. Diversity and inclusion, again, this comes from the CEO, it comes from the board of directors, it comes from the institutional investors, that they're putting a lot of pressure in order to bring more diversity to the function. Delivering results, and probably you're laughing because you say, well, that's what they hire us for, that's basically what we have to do. But CFOs, they have what we call a total return of mentality. They have to understand the demands, the reinvest, the M&A, the dividends, a little bit beyond that what we see, we used to see. Global experience, of course, it depends of the company where we are talking, or the kind of client, but clients are entering in new markets. There is a lot of complexity. Right now, I'm executing the treasure for Airbnb, where FX hedging is super important. So depending what you do, but it is globally is key. And also, as I said, because of that revenge hiring, um, there is a war for talent. Okay, we talk to a lot of CFOs that they tell us. They say we get 5, 6 weeks every week, calls every week. So that means that the average of the CFO, is declining. Less years in the same company because there is a lot of demand. And there is a continuous transformation, nothing that is only because of the CFO. It's basically because the companies, because the environments, because we are in a very, very agile environment, and you have to be able to show that you have that agility, and that you have to be able to. There are some people, they call it agile, some people they call it fluid, but things change. And then the talent bench, so there is more focus on CFO succession, as the CFOs are seen as a successor for the CEO. So it's important for any CFO that has that aspiration to be the CEO, that they groom a successor inside of the company. And although you can think that is something that people should think, sometimes things are happening so fast, companies are expanding or are divesting, or they are in the middle of that, the CFOs don't have the time to really groom someone. So that's really important, because it's something that if you want to keep growing in the organization, they're going to ask you to put in place. And then here there is a slide that before we go there, any specific concern, question that you have about the trends? Did you feel that that's something that you were feeling from the board of directors, from your experience?
Personally, Mar, I'm fully in agreement with what you're saying. I mean, unfortunately, the finance role, it's all over the place, and yeah. And it's unfair that many times, we need to really learn new things all the time. And sometimes, again, it's more important the transferable skills more than the specific to the industry. Like, for instance, hedging, if you're hedging stuff, I think, that's my opinion, in a consumer products company, is the same thing if you end up hedging real estate, I mean, rentals. So that's why I think, we have some benefits and some not as beneficial, because during the day you have to work so many hours to learn so many things, but at the same time in your next role you can use a lot of the things that you come with from other experience, a different experience, a different industry.
Yep,
I've also
absolutely.
seen a lot of, in the past CFO roles that I've had, I've seen a lot of this, and the board relationship has expanded from not just, the board with the CEO, but the CEO, but the CFO is very involved in all aspects with the board besides just financial reporting. There's, the planning, the 5-year plans, and everything a board asks for, CFO is kind of in the loop and part of.
Yep. That's what we call about the business enablement. You have to be able, you're part of the strategy. You are not part, not only the financial strategy, but the overall strategy of the company. And you have to position yourself as a strategic advisor to the board of directors, in terms that what is your point of view, because being the CFO and understanding the metrics of the finance, can really help in taking decisions. So
Yeah.
perfect. So let me just go to the next one. Here is a slide that probably is a little bit confusing. That is part of one study that we did years ago about the inside the mind of the CFO, and how do you score versus other C-suite executives. And for example, from the analytical side, usually you are much more detail oriented, you're data powered, you're very diligent. you know uh, how comfortable you are in motion, accelerate actions as needed, thrive on activity a little bit less. That's one of the muscles that the CFOs they need to develop. And then when we talk about balance, reserve, steadiness, attend to a structure, take others face value, modest reserve, belief impact of rules, you see a little bit where are the higher scores. This is a little bit dated, but it hasn't changed so much. And then when talking about CFOs, and again, I'm preaching to the priest here, so please feel free to push back on me, or to laugh if you want. But we see that there are 4 different kind of archetypes. Okay, and sometimes, of course, you're going to see there are people that they have a little bit of everything, and we have unicorns as well. But we see one prototype, one archetype, that is the protectors. It's people that they have deep experience in classic finance functions, the accounting, the treasury, the audit. They're focused in cost control and how to drive lean operations. And right now we are doing an assessment of a public company CFO. It's not an external search. We also assess teams. And finally, our CFO is a protector. Is a former, one of the big accounting firms, doing an very, very, very good job protecting the company, but is missing the advisory part, to the board of directors, in order to be innovative, in order to be a little bit progressive. We see what we call the finance experts, people that have years of experience rotating in different roles. Okay, they're very well positioned to lead transformations, broaden the bench. They're leaders. Okay, and those are probably the ones that they have a lot of points to be CEOs. you know but also we have the strategists, the people that they bring experience in operating roles and management consulting. We see also part of the rotation that the board sometimes ask is even for people that they are in finance to get out of finance and come back, to have that attachment to the field, to the operation. Those are the people that they are really the strategic partner of the CEO. And then we call the one we have the calls that we have the financial architects. those are the people that they are financial engineers. They do the structuring, complex transactions, usually coming from the investment banking, private equity roles, and basically their focus is maximizing the shareholder value. It's and those are very different archetypes, where when we talk to our clients about what are you looking for a CFO, what is the background, they don't call them strategies or finance experts, but they tell you, oh, I want someone that an investment banking background, with capital markets connections in Wall Street. Or they tell you, I want someone with M&A experience, expansion, and I want someone that can elevate, the strategy of the company, and I want a strategic partner for the company. So those are the main archetypes. How do you feel about it? Do you see reflected, or have you seen those archetypes during your career?
Well, in my case, Mar, I see you sent me back to a few past roles in which I have played each one of them.
Yeah.
Uh, it has to do a lot with the CEO,
Yeah.
because sometimes they have they they know their ability and what they want to invest most of the time, and whatever is any gap, they just ask for it, and we just quick and adapt. That's what happened. It's really right on money.
Yep. No, absolutely. Look, doesn't mean that you are one or the other. There are people, they rotate, as you say. There are people that they feel more comfortable in one side or the other. But usually they are, that's when the client asks, the kind of prototype that they're looking for. Um, and then here we have what is the competences that we've seen in the best in class CFOs. And this is data that it comes. Russell Reynolds have 50 years of experience. It's a company that we have already, and we have a database of 50 years of people. We capture everything in our own system. So every time that someone from Russell Reynolds calls you, there are notes. Okay. And if I call someone that you've talked to, one of my colleagues 2 years ago, I'm going to go and I go see those notes. Also, we have created a partnership with Hogan. I don't know if you are, psychometrics, where they have a lot of data. And then we have analyzed, what are the competencies that the best CFOs or the best CEOs, or different functions. And they're basically four main competencies, and it doesn't matter which role you are. You have to be able to set up the strategy. You have to be able to execute results. If you have a C in front of your title, you have to lead teams. You're a leader. Okay. And then in our day, with all what's going on, matrix organizations, technology, you have to be able to build relationships and being influential. Okay. And when we talk about CFOs from a strategy perspective, you have to be able to be innovative. You have to be able, so you don't have to say what they know, that you have to see what they don't know and where they have to go. You have to be able to anticipate the trends. You have to be able to leverage the knowledge in advanced business. You have to think from the business, not only from the finance perspective. you know and then that's where you have to be able to have that cross-functional contribution. When I interview, and my first question when talking about setting the strategy is, what aspects of the business do you take in consideration when you have to put the finance strategy, and who do you partner with? Okay. And I'm not expecting they tell me that they partner with a controller or with a treasurer. I want them to tell me that they partner with commercial, with legal, I want the partnership being outside the function, not inside the function. Okay. So I think that's key. Execution for results. It's everybody right now is expecting that you have to be able to fly high and to fly low. I always say that vision without execution is hallucination. So you can have the best strategy and everybody can give you the thumbs up and saying this is great, that unless you put it in place, unless you operationalize the strategy, and it's a smoke, it's nothing. So So when you execute, the best in class CFOs, they have a very distinctive track record of making things happen. You know, they know how to achieve the targets. You know, they know how to assign responsibilities. You know, they know how to operate with efficiency. And it doesn't matter if you use project management, Six Sigma methodology, if you are agile, or you just put dashboards. It's not about the methodology, it's about to have the method, you know, to make sure that you follow through, you know, and also make sure that the best in class are people that they go beyond conventional performance benchmarks. Okay, that's again linked to the strategy. You have to be innovative, you have to be able to think a little bit out of the box. And also, very important, when you're executing, you have to be decisive. You cannot have a paralysis for analysis when you are executing. You have to be able to do things. And then leading, uh, I always say that you don't need to have a C in front of your title to be a leader. You know, a leader is everybody that has followership. But definitely you have to be able to attract talent, you have to inspire, you have to motivate, and you have to develop. Okay. And again, one of my questions when interviewing is, how do you make sure your team not only delivers, that's what you expect from someone, but also develops? That's part of leadership skills. You have to develop, you have to groom people from your successor to the rest of the team, you know. And also, you have to set up an example of high performance. You know, you have to have energy, and you have to be disciplined when you set up a culture. Companies, they have their own culture, but you can create your microculture. And that culture has to be about the delivery, it has to be about the example, it has to be about integrity. And probably the most difficult one is relationships and influence, especially in the finance, in the CFO practice, or the financial officers. CFOs tend to be a little bit more introvert. Okay, not everybody, but I'm talking about in general. Very numbers oriented, very factual, very analytical. But the reality is, this world right now, as it is, you have to build the relationships. You have, at all different levels on the organization, you have to be able to communicate with energy, with intensity, with passion. You know, you have to be able to be a storyteller. It's not only that you know what you're doing, you have to be able to simplify complexity in the way you talk. You know, a lot of CFOs, they one of the typical is talking very technical, and then you know people don't follow. You have to be able to have the energy, but also to read your audience and to know how you adjust, you know, your message to the different audiences. And and you have to be able to build the relationships with all kind of stakeholders. So in order to be able to influence outside of your team, you have to have the credibility, and the credibility comes from results, but also comes also from the eye to eye, you know, for building, you know, for to be supportive, to be able to present yourself as you're there to support them, not them to support you. So a little bit like any other relationship in life, it's not about you, it's more about the others. And here I wanted to share with you, when we talk to the board of directors or with the CEO, and basically we are going to start discussing a CFO opportunity. This is the experiences and competences that we use. There is the specifics, like for example, if FX hedging is key, or if they want global, or if most of their operations are in Asia, or if they need to speak Spanish because most of their operation are in Latin America. So that's something that we built for each one of our clients. And then those are little balls that I here I cannot do it, but basically I talk to them and say, is this important for you and why? Okay. And then we put the boost ball, you know, like more the balls more on the right, on the left, but that is like a map for us to know what we are looking for. And of course we customize this, but of course there is the technical knowledge, of course they're the specific, and then if you see at the bottom is the competences, the strategy, the execution, the leadership, and the relationship and influence. you're going to see that in the leadership competencies, we've seen that the best CFOs can either in setting the strategy, sometimes they are more lean to be more pragmatic, and sometimes they lean to be more disruptive. Okay. There is nothing right or wrong. Okay. Usually the best ones are the ones that they have the biggest span. That's what we call leadership span. Okay. Is the ones that they know when they have to be pragmatic and when they have to be disruptive. Okay. And the same span in execution. Some people, they try to be more reluctant, and some people, they try to be more risk-taking. Best ones are the ones that they know when they have to be one or the other. And leading teams, sometimes you have to be heroic. Okay, you have to be there. You're the one that you have the flag. You're in front of the troops. But in order to lead and engage people and motivate people, you also have to be vulnerable. Okay, you have to be a person. You have to be there for them. And the last, with relationships, there are people that they are galvanizing. There are people, they have a lot of gravitas. Those are the people that when they are in front of the board of directors, they have a presence, you know. But you also have to be able to be connecting. Okay, it cannot be only about the presence and about me. It has to be how do you connect with people. So I think it's important that you understand about the span thing. Is not black or white, is having the judgment, when do you have to be one or the other. Okay, and the bigger the span, the better. Okay, any questions about this?
Well, precisely. I had a question, but with what you just said at the end,
Okay.
you gave me the answer because that's precisely what, at least my experience has been. Based on the situation, that's what I need to roll and I need
Yeah.
to play, and even if that could be against what, let's say, naturally do, but I adapt, and then I need to make it. It need to happen.
Yeah.
So that's what I agree with what you just said.
I think one of above all of this, what we're saying is the ability to adjust. Okay, ability to read the room, ability to read the industry, what's going on, the trends, and if you develop that muscle, the other things are going to come. You know, but it's I think is that, the thing about 2 years 1 month, it's better to listen than to talk. So I think in this sense is to analyze what is outside, and to read what you have in front of you. Is read, uh, if it's a meeting, it's a room, but it can be also the trends. Okay,
One
another
quick
thing that I
one quick
yes.
comment. I always found Mar, and again everybody can chip in and disagree, but when you go at this level, usually the beyond the specifics and the technical,
Mhm.
all the other stuff is a lot more impacted by the chemistry that you can have with the rest of the management team.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of really people who are great technically. Maybe they have all the skills,
Mhm.
and then people will go and say, "Oh, this is not working out," or this. And the reason is because, again, I mean, it's great technically, maybe has the right hard skills, but there are some other things that they are not able
Good.
to connect or whatever. It's very challenging. I mean, a lot of the times you don't this job that you do is not it's not something exact. So sometimes I guess you are hiring people that they might check all the boxes, and they're not panning out for some reason that you couldn't really figure out. Whatever technique, whatever testing, whatever stuff I guess you do before the hiring and closing the deal, right?
Well, I like to say when I talk to friends or clients, is executive search is a mix between art and technique. Okay, there is a technique, there is a methodology, there is a process. Okay, there is due diligence. We do back channel references. Not only the references that the candidates give us. We talk to people that we know in the industry. What do you think about this person? You work with him or with her. Uh, uh, so there is a methodology, and it's very thorough. Okay, the methodology. People, they think that is just whining and dining. Oh, I go to an interview and that's it. We do a lot of work behind, but also there is the art. The art is reading the candidate and reading your client, because you can have the best candidate of the world, that if it's not culturally fit for your client, it's not going to work. So, and then is a lot of we always say that we like to, when we start a new mandate, we like to measure twice to cut once. It's important that we talk to the board of directors. It's important that we talk to the CEO. We do a lot of questions about culture. What is the culture? How the team looks like. What is going to be the people around this executive. And then we are going to talk about the competencies. Last is going to be the technical. Okay, because if they're asking me for a CPA, you're a CPA or you're not. Okay, if you have an investment background and you've been working for, I don't know, JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs for a few years, I can read that, and I can. I'm not a CFO, so I'm not going to be assessing how good you are in hedging. Okay, I'm going to assess if you know hedging, if you have done it. Give me examples, but you can fool me totally, from a technical perspective, and but I'm going to spend a lot of time asking you, what are the kind of cultures that you like to work? What is your leadership style? How do you treat your team? What is the biggest failure that you had? What did you learn from that? Okay. The first thing a board of directors does when they say they see either a resume or a bio, usually boards, they prefer the bios. They don't want the resumes. The first thing they do is they delete all the adjectives. Crush. They don't want adjectives. They want actions. The adjectives is in the interview. They're going to tell you if you are relationship driven, there you have energy, or that's in the interview. The other one is the facts. So I think is very important for a CFO to have the technical knowledge. Okay, but if you don't have the competences, you're not gonna you're not gonna succeed. Perfect. Let me talk. Any other questions regarding because I think this is an important one, because I'm pretty sure you've seen, not that you've seen the same kind of matrix, but you think about those things when you have to hire.
Yeah, this is Julius here. Hey, so, one of the things is some of the things that you touched on, given the levels and the potential salary ranges, the technical knowledge is table stakes. You didn't get to where you got without getting there.
Exactly.
And then potentially on some of the other things where the skill set may not be, call it robust, this is what you outsource. You can go hire all that.
Yeah.
That's why you have consultants. It's really the rest of it, which is the intangibles, and what you really touched on is the business partner aspect to the CFO job. One, it's a hell of a lot more fun than talking to the auditors, and you really are part of the business, and you have so much more powerful BI that comes out of that. Whether you're doing a financial modeling, you're doing your board package, it's something that ends up being actionable that the rest of the business can relate to.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And look, I always say that, for example, when we work with private equity for portfolio companies, they take the technical knowledge for granted. You are there, you're a CFO, you have it. But what it makes the difference is what you just said, Julius, is the partnership, to be a strategic advisor to the business. Okay. And that's what it makes it or breaks it for them. But let me any other comment before I go to the next one? Let me talk something that is, because I think is a reality. and this is not about CFOs. This is what we are facing right now. What are the challenges that we all have, and I'm pretty sure when you're building up your teams, you also have those challenges, right now. Um, Having COVID, it's changing a little bit the way that people respond and the searches are done. First of all, keeping candidates engaged is harder. Okay. So it's important, it's important that we articulate that story about the commitment of our clients, or if you do the hiring directly, um, why we want this, being very clear about what we are looking or not looking. We have to emphasize what is the impact that this role is going to have in the organization. I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for a successor. I'm right now doing a very confidential CFO search, where basically the board wants a successor to the CEO, and the CEO knows. Okay, so I cannot present hypos or people that is a step up. It has to be a very consolidated CFO that has that needs to be able to be ready, in a couple of years to take the seat. So then there is also the risk of moving jobs. They feel that it's not the right moment to change. Okay, so it's important, it's important that you connect with people. You have to give candidates the insight of the culture, the strategy. You have to make them feel comfortable with the idea of making a change in the middle of chaos. So we need more information. We ask the clients, give me a presentation, tell me what I can say, even if we have to sign an NDA, but let's engage them. In-person requirements will delay the decision making. There is the flexing policy. I have several. I'm right now doing another search for eBay, for example, in finance. FP ahead of FP&A. The CFO wants the person to be in California in the headquarters, sitting beside him, in an era where everybody has the flexibility, they expect flexibility, they want to work from home. So we have to have those conversations. Also, we see now clients are. I've closed several searches where my client never met the candidate in person, but that's a process. It has been a learning process, you know and in both sides. You have to double down on video, and re-meet the candidate in video. It's a little bit more time consuming, and we have to do much more references, the back channel references, because you're missing that connection that you have when you meet someone in person. Okay. Another thing is the volatility of the market, the offer. It's important that you put a methodology with the client at the beginning. It's important that is relocation support. You have. It's important that we know what we have in front of us, what are going to be the aspects of the long-term compensation, of the equity, how it's going to work. And then the other thing is starting the start date is complicated. You have to understand the situation. And so people sometimes before, what it was like, oh, I need 1 month to tell, but now it can be 2 and 3 months, because it's a lot of things going on. And also we tell our clients, be prepared for a remote working scenario. Are you having the technology behind to do that? Can they be connected? So I know that this is not only about your world, and it's not only about the C-suite, but this is impacting everything we do right now. Okay. And I'm not going to ask here, because I'm pretty sure that you've seen all of this as you build up your teams.
I have a couple of questions, Mar, that maybe they're not. I don't know. You tell me if you want to answer them now or not. One is how, through the interviewing process, how do you assess ability to adjust?
We are training something that is called behavioral interviewing. Okay. So remember, I told you that it's method, not only art. Okay, and behavioral interviewing is where I'm not going to ask you, have you done this, yes or not? Okay, when the answer is yes or not, it's not a good question. Okay, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to say, give me an example of one situation where it was high level of complexity or it was a turnaround situation, depending what I'm looking for. Okay, and I say, and I want you to tell me what it was the problem. You know, how did you reacted to the problem? You know, and what it was the upside. You know, what it was the result. Okay, and then you have to tell me a story. Okay, it's not yes or not. You're gonna have to say, well, we were at quite, we were in a mergers and acquisition, we were an M&A spree. We had, we were acquiring a company in India, and boom, 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 and then I'm gonna keep digging, and what did you do? How did you react to that? How did you get, how did you change, how do you make them change their mind? What did you put in place? What metrics, I'm expecting numbers, it's not only tell me the story, but also, and what it was the return of investment, or how, and then we cut costs, how much, what it was the EBITDA, or we sold the company, what it was multiplier, tell me, what it was the EBITDA when I also still, what it was the EBITDA of the company when you started, what it was the EBITDA of the company when you left, what did you do to get there? Okay, so it's about asking questions where people, they have to give you a story. That's behavioral interview. It's not just yes or not. I did, it's give me the story, give me what is behind. Is you can tell me EBITDA was from here to there. They're going to say, why? What did you do? What it was the key factors for you to do that? Oh, imagine it was reverse. It was from 100 to 50. What happened? And what did you put in place in order to fix that? Were you part of the solution or you were part of the problem? Very important. That's a question that clients always ask. Everybody, not everything is perfect in your lives, in your jobs, and there are always hiccups, and when we go through the story, the client is going to say, I want to know if this person was part of the problem or was part of the solution. Okay,
Okay.
did it help?
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing that I'm thinking while you are showing the COVID challenges is that I think I mean, a lot of companies, they have unload more people than what they needed. It's not just because of COVID, but also maybe because some people, they were not adjusting, or they were not, they were doing their job, but maybe they were not doing what they were, they were not the right chemistry.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of the times, yes, you can do this behavioral questions or behavioral testing. I don't know. I don't remember if you have to do it in 10 seconds or in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not timed, the behavioral. I don't remember, but there are a lot of things that you do there. But unfortunately, again, I mean, it's very difficult to be 100% accurate with these things. I think this is a comment from Julius, and maybe he can chime in. He says, how do you assess intellectual curiosity if you ask any specific strategy questions or business questions? How do you handle that?
Well, I can ask, what do you see in the market? What do you see in the industry? What do you think that are the factors that are impacting your business? Okay, and you're gonna say, oh, we all have to know. Not everybody knows. Okay.
I can share, if you allow me an interruption a little bit. What I have seen as well is a lot of companies, some of them, they are not making decisions because the perception seems to be that they're looking to see who else is doing what, like who actually is going to make the first move, and that at least is the perception. And at the same time, if this, they're running out of time because typically Q3 is the right period to put everybody together, the whole team, in order to prepare for the next year, budget preparation and whatnot. So it's kind of a perception in which since we're coming back from COVID, is a lot of changes. And same company, they are at the company level. They're also uh, going through changes that they're adapting because they're still reading the environment, and that's internally. Also economically, they're still looking at very a lot of moving parts,
Yeah.
which is not easy for them either.
Look, I think it's the intellectual curiosity is one of those things that you have it. There are people that are curious, and there are people that are not. Um, the best CFOs, they have a high level of curiosity, but from what you're saying, Fernando, it has to be a balance. The curiosity has to be, yes, what's going on, what are the trends, what is, let me talk to, and for example, the other day I interviewed a CFO, very accomplished. First thing he does when he starts in a new company is go to the field and goes to this. In this case, it was retail. Went to the stores and worked for 1 week in one store. Okay, just to understand, you
Sounds like
know,
undercover boss.
exactly. It's an undercover boss, but
Totally.
wanted to know, you know, what is the other side, what is the feel, what is the people that they come to the store, what they value or not value. Okay, or someone was explaining to me the other day that he was working in a technology company where they were using the Morse law, you know and basically he talked to clients. Okay, and the clients told, basically they didn't give a damn about, that what they really wanted is value, is time to market. So this person went back to the board and talked to the CEO and said they don't care. Okay, they only want us to be the first ones. They wanted the chips there as needed, and they had to change the whole operating model and all the manufacturing model. you know because basically this guy that he was in finance and leading finance, instead of looking inside, went outside and talked to the clients. Okay, that's Julius, is curiosity to what is outside my world, and how those aspects from outside are impacting, the results of the company, and then from my job, from my scope, what can I do to help.
One thing for the group here, just some advice on that, right? We all do our waterfall charts, but if you, the key, what ends up being is if you socialize that waterfall chart, whether it's sales growth, productivity, and so forth, do the rest of the leads, can they sign up for the story that you're telling, right? Because a waterfall in a lot of aspects, it's a mathematical exercise.
Yeah.
But does your, green and red, can they get their hand around it, and will they sign up for that? And that's really key at board meetings, right? Because then the meeting doesn't come unglued where you have the finger pointing at each other. So the curiosity is there, but once you have something, is socializing that. And that's very difficult where we sit in a lot of cases, because you're doing your slides at 10 o'clock at night, right? And it's warm sometimes when it goes to the board meeting, and you don't have that time to socialize. But getting that out ahead of the curve really ends up driving a lot of value, and you learn a lot when you end up doing that.
Yep,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And then that has to do a lot with the adaptability, in which we can actually summarize those trends, and then get the meat from the information, so they can chew, and then together start to see what could happen. Because as we all know, the graphically is already just information that has already passed.
Mhm.
For us, it will be how we can add value and see, okay, this is a story and the history at the same time. Now, this is what could happen if we continue doing this, or if we continue doing B or C.
Yeah.
That dynamic is really gets interesting as well.
Good. Um, I would love to talk a little bit talk about the board environment, because as we said before, your role is not only report to the CEO, but also to develop the relationships at the board level and to get that credibility and that interaction. So what this is Trends 2020, we are we have basically they haven't changed so much, and every year we interview investors, pension funds, proxy advisors regarding public company boards, and what we're seeing is some of the trends that we had been seeing lately has been amplified with COVID. Uh, talking about Julius, talking about intellectual curiosity. If you are if you are a CFO right now from a public company, God damn it, you need to know about environmental and social concerns, about ESG. You have to have a point of view in sustainability. You don't have to be an expert, okay? Because but you have to have a point of view because those questions are gonna come up, okay?
Absolutely.
And that's important, and then the socially topics, in the ethnic and racial diversity, what they want to know, what commitment do you have in your team, in your function, and how you can contribute to the overall company in order to be more, to have more DE&I, is the diversity, the inclusion, and the engagement. They're going to expect more about executive compensation, okay? And this is important, and I know that is part of HR in theory, but in total rewards, especially in the executive, and I'm not even going to talk about private equity when we get into the carries and the equity, that you have to have a voice there too, and then the board also oversees the corporate company, the culture of the company, okay? So they partner with HR and the multi-class share structure scrutiny, IPOs, multi-class structure, now I'm pretty sure you are aware about the SPACs, is a lot of things that they are going on. We definitely, I just finalized a couple of months ago. I don't know, the company Taboola is in the tech ad space, Israeli company with headquarters in New York. And basically, I put the COO there, and then they called us and they said, SPAC, we need, two external board members, in a month because we are going in IPO in a month and a half.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's some of the trends. And also the board performance is going to have to adapt to to evolving business, So, the where the board focuses in the company purpose, in the strategic approach, what are the new risks that they have, the way they work in the board agenda, the meeting frequently, information flow. I just finalized a board of directors position where they wanted a CFO, a retired CFO for that position. It could not be active. But basically, one of the challenges that I had is that they meet 9 times a year.
Oh, yeah.
No, 4, 9. Okay, between committees and subcommittees, and that's not the normal. And a lot of board members, they don't want to do that. They have other commitments. They have and then who sits on the table? They have the push from the investors. You have the board leadership. You have the director succession. So boards will be expected to step up and meet new demands. And as you are going to be talking to them, you have to understand that that's evolving as well. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about how good we are in the board effectiveness and advisory. It's basically we can provide, but it's important that you have that too. The insights of the institutional investors. It's important that you understand the ESG. Is how they are affecting your company, your industry. And how you can support sustainable value creation, okay, for the company. So it's value creation, is sustainable value creation, and to enhance the stakeholder perception, for what the company is doing. If you can present yourself supportive to that, you're going to have all the credibility from your board. Okay.
You also find, just to step in here and a really quick question, very, very intriguing conversation. I think all your thought points have been very compelling. So thank you for sharing that. One thing that I've seen is that people miss the fact that these are individuals. Just because you have a board and they're defending, sometimes they're there to defend disparate interests, right? Or non-converging interests. And oftentimes the vision of the CEO and the board do not necessarily coincide. And have you seen relationships such as, because I've been in that situation where I become sort of the arbiter of interests between the board participation and the CEO. And sometimes it can be not a comfortable situation for any CFO to be in, but artfully mastering the art of getting everybody to play together on the sandbox and finding wins for everyone to participate in becomes instrumental, because the EQ IQ, it's not about the what, it's about the how. And sometimes massaging the message makes all the difference in the world, where you understand people are putting stakes in the ground and have interest to protect, whether it be an investor that sits on the board. Most boards have active membership. And
yeah, I think that is where you have to leverage. There are two competences there. First of all, building relationships.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have to invest in people, relationships as an investment, you cannot pretend that the return of the investment is going to be right away. You have to invest on them. And then you have to, with your colleagues, with your peers in the company, with the different board members, that is going to facilitate when there is that confrontation between the CEO. That's where you can be like the moderator of the conversation. And the other thing is communication skills. How, and you mentioned, Diane, how do you articulate the story? Okay. It's not the same that if I tell you this is wrong, that if I tell you, let's think about other points of view and let's leverage data in order to take the decision. Okay, at the end, probably you're going to get the same outcome, but you're going to come across completely different.
Yes, absolutely. And using a tiered approach or an implementation or trial and error to a certain degree sometimes gets you there faster, because the data validates the position, which then becomes, an unbiased perception of facts. Yeah. But I think it's just, as CFOs, you have to act as counselor. You have to take off the hat of counselor and then put on the analytical hat. And you also have to work with very complex ingredients, such as SPVs and waterfalls and the things that are the bread and butter of all of it. But as sort of the CFO becomes more of a / COO, CIO, working in HR, IT, managing the implementation woes and going public, well, it can get pretty messy pretty quickly. And it's kind of the clear-headed, decisive approach that wins the race from a strategic angle of the vision converging. So very, very interesting, and it's definitely evolving, but I've seen that throughout my career, and it's part of the fun of the job, to be honest with you, because how boring would it be if we didn't have one of those, those things to tackle? I think it's intriguing.
It is, but that's one of, look, the more that you develop those muscles, the ones that they're going outside of what is the traditional, your role, the more you position yourself as a future CEO.
Absolutely.
Okay, so only being technical in finance, you're not going to be a CEO. You're going to be a very good CFO. Don't misunderstand me, but you're not going to go beyond that. So if you want to do something else, if you want to evolve, or even you want to be a very good CFO, but at the end you want to be a board member, like this position that I was doing, where the client was asking for, a retired CFO from a public company in a specific industry, with a CPA as well. My point is, that's where you have to go a little bit beyond, and is that part of a strategy, and the governance, how the communication of what do you do. But I think here is just, I think we have a little bit of experience, on CFO assignments. And it's just as a from technology, and here you have, for example, what we call qualified financial experts. That's in the board. Those are specific board positions where they ask us, to put people like you on the board. And that's one of the and probably the most common, to be honest. Although now they're asking also a lot of HR background and digital, digital and but I think this is my bio, and I think and this is a little bit about who we are from the financial officers practice, and our commitment to diversity. 27% of our candidates that are successful candidates were women. And gender diversity. Here you have a little bit of the really, I mentioned at the beginning, the firm is really committed in the diversity space. And when we talk diversity, I'm part of the diversity and inclusion practice. It's also diversity of background. So it doesn't need to be only, race or gender. And then, as I said, a little bit about differentiation. We have the boutique experience plus the global firm in high touch, client-centric, global P&L, a holistic approach, and best team and committed to diversity. So I'm not going to get there. But, and that's the way we finish our presentations, preparing you for what's next right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mar.
So please let me know if there are more. I don't even know what time it is. So
can you show us the slide that had the at-home logo on there? I used to work for them. I'm just curious.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, let me see which one it is. We have so many at home. Here, Joanne Rebosirat. She was the CA, basically we took her from Abercrombie to at home. Familiar? Are you familiar? Remember this.
I worked for Garden Ridge when it was in bankruptcy. I worked for the chief restructuring officer. And then later on it became at home. So I don't know Joanne.
Okay. But so she's now in the board of directors of At Home. So she was the CFO of Abercrombie and now is in the board of directors. Remember, this is a qualified financial expert for a board.
Got it. Okay. Very interesting.
Here you have the assignments, and this is an example. And we work for big organizations, public, private, family-owned, and private equity, and different colors and sizes.
Great. Mar, I can share the information from those people who have their information in the chat box if you're interested.
Absolutely.
And you can reach out to them or
feel free if you want to share. Look, I have my own database of financial officers here in Florida. So I always say that our business doesn't exist without candidates and without clients. So it's either you're one or the other. It's never leftovers. And and also we see candidates that they become clients and clients that they become candidates. So I'm interested in knowing talent points of view. If you do once you go live, and if you want to host something in, we can talk about hosting an event or a happy hour, whatever it is. I know that right now a lot of people are scared about doing that. But happy to continue the relationship. At the end of the day, our business is about relationships, no mandates.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody has any questions that they want to share before we close?
I have a follow-up question on the financial expert placements. Yeah. Are you working on any placements for international based companies where they're looking for?
Yes, we do. The thing with usually the board positions, they work differently, and this is what people usually for a regular search. I reach out to people and then I say, Anna and Dave and Diane are interested in this position. I know them. This is what they bring on the table. And then the client says, oh, I love Diane and we want to meet her, or I think Dave's experience is perfect where we're looking. And then we present the candidates. With board positions is the opposite. Okay, I don't call you to tell, I don't call you to say, Diane, do you want to be on the board of this and that? I know you. Okay, and then when the client asks me and they say, I want a CFO, imagine I want a CFO that is a woman that has experience in technology, just to say something. I put a list without calling anybody, okay? And I said, those are the people we know that they are qualified for this. And the board says, this, and that. I want to talk to them. And then I have to call, and of course I have to, usually people are open to boards unless they are saturated, because by regulation, you cannot have more than 4, I think 3 or 4 in the public space, but we have that data. So basically, and then the client picks first, and then we go to the candidates. In a regular search, we go to the candidates first, and if they are interested, we present it to the client, and then we go to but they work in a different way. But yes, we a couple of years ago, we did for Capgemini. They wanted someone in technology based in the United States, but it had to be like 10 times in Paris. We are a global firm, and the other day, someone in Australia was sending us an email to the BCAP is the practice, the board practice, where they say, do you know someone that has this based in the United States, but they want to go to Australia 4 times a year because the client wants this? Or yesterday night, we got one in Hong Kong when they wanted someone, but it has to understand the Asian market. So yes, we have that kind of connection. That's the good thing about having a global P&L instead of regional or local P&Ls. We really work as, as one team.
Thank you.
Hi, Mar. My name is Dave, and I just want to first say thank you for some really great information tonight. I really appreciate you spending time with us. And I think my question would kind of center around, how do you develop your database? Now, you don't have to give away any Russell Reynolds secrets, but I'm sure it's, through networking events or webinars like this. I imagine part of it's LinkedIn. And then I would just think it's through other referrals in the industry. But,
yeah,
how do you go about building your client database?
Well, first of all, we have 50 years of experience. Okay. So it's 50 years of conversations in one database. That's what and our database is, we did it ourselves. It's called Beacon. We call the Beacon, but internally we call it the BIST, because we have to feed the BIST. Okay. And every conversation, even if it's what we call a courtesy interview. Okay. Courtesy interviews, we don't have a position, but I just want to get to know you. I want to know who you are, that data goes there. Okay, we do what we call in Beacon, in our database, we have a tab that is market intelligence. So imagine that someone tells me, oh, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I work with Dave, when we were together, like now, it's amazing doing this. He's a really good guy in M&A. He nails it. He has the relationships. He knows the market. He knows Latin America by the T. All of this goes in the database. Okay. And or the opposite, this person had a problem and sued the company. Okay, that goes to the database. Okay, everything, and that's why we call it the BIST, because we feed the BIST. Okay, and then when we start a mandate, we usually work in teams, and we have people in what we call knowledge management. Okay, knowledge management is the one that tell us the trends. They send us, for example, I'm part of the private equity practice as well. Every week they send me an email and say who's going where. Okay, Dave is living here and now is going over there, and And then we have the researchers, that they're the people that they go through the database, and I tell them what is going to be the strategy. I said, okay, the client wants this kind of CFO. We have to look, in those are the searches that we did very similar. Those is Finance Academy. Like, for example, a lot of clients, they want Finance Academy when academies, those like Amex, American Airlines, GE, companies that they are famous, or Pepsi, that they build, they really groom good finance people. Okay. And we put a strategy. I'm consultant. I say what the strategy is going to be. That's where you have to go. But then the researchers are the ones that they go through the database and they give me the names, and I say yes or not, or I know this guy is not going to work, or I love this, or I like this guy, but we called him 3 months ago for another position, and he said that he's not going to relocate because his kids are in high school and the wife doesn't want to relocate. All of this is information that we have. And then one of the differentiators that I mentioned at the beginning, I do the phone calls. Okay, so I don't use minions in order to do the phone calls. I do the outreach, depending. Sometimes I have help from another consultant, not from, but if I call you and I imagine that is a head of FP&A, okay, or I call you because and I know you, and I said, hey, I'm looking for the head of FP&A in eBay, and I know that you've worked in technology and people in Silicon Valley. Who do you recommend me? Okay. And then you say, oh, Mar Hernandez, just to put a name, is really, really good. I work with her. She does this, that, and that. Everything goes in the database. So imagine 50 years doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine 50 years doing that. And then when sometimes clients, they tell us, oh, you are expensive. We are not an affordable firm. We are not, we are one of the big 5, and we have
Right.
we only work with exclusivity. We work with retainers. We have a minimum retainer, but that's what you're paying for. You're not only paying for the interviews, you're paying for the database, and we've solved a lot of problems to clients just because we have that knowledge. And we leverage one. And there is a video for the ones that they speak Spanish. It's an old movie from Spain where there is this this guy that the car breaks, and then a mechanic stops by, and the guy is like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm stopped in the middle of the highway, and the mechanic goes, opens the and says, "Plip," and fixes. And the guy said, oh my God, what do that was amazing, and they say, how much I owe you? And the guy says a price, whatever it is. They say, really? Are you charging me that for something that you did in a second? And the mechanic says,
It's not a second.
is you're not
years.
paying for, no, he said, you're not paying for what I'm doing in a second. Doing pay because I know what I'm doing. It's not about how long it take me. I knew what I had to fix. So we take that with clients is not only because what you see in a search, is because all the work that is behind.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Okay. Well, it's about time. We're really hitting the mark of 7:30, 7:23, according to me. So I have to say thank you. Thanks a lot for everybody who stay, all this long. And again, I have to say thank you to Mar. I really appreciate it. First time that she's here since I'm leading the Miami group. So I really appreciate it, Mar. I mean, it was a great presentation. You're a very, very good person presenting the stuff, and you know how to do these things. So I really, I have to say,
I'm pretty sure that if I will be in your shoes, I cannot do the CFO job as you guys do. So as we say in Spanish, zapatero tus zapatos, it's each one, they know what to do. But thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. Anything you can do, feel free to send me information. I'm not going to be able to see all of you, but happy to get to know you one by one. and any market intelligence on, again, I believe in relationships, not in mandates.